Number 10. Trusting the Bear. Valentin Bulik, a circus worker and cage cleaner for the Great Moscow State Circus, dreamed of one day being an animal tamer at the circus he worked for. But sadly, those dreams would never come to fruition. In October 2020, the 28-year-old walked into death's waiting arms when he locked himself in a cage with a bear. Valentin locked the cage door from the inside, and while his back was turned, the 7-year-old bear named Yasha attacked him from behind. Valentin's scalp was torn off as he was brutally mauled by the bear. His colleagues pulled him out of the cage and took him to the Vinegrad State Clinical Hospital. Unfortunately, due to the severity of his injuries, Valentin was pronounced dead at that hospital. Valentin's grieving mother, Elena, said that he had overestimated the trust that a bear would place in a human and that he had also believed he would find a way to communicate with the bear since he had previous experience handling cubs. It was initially believed that Valentin had violated standard protocols when he locked himself in the cage with the bear, but it turned out that he was conducting a routine cleaning. It's believed that the reason why the bear attacked him was because he had a mask on due to COVID restrictions. The bear didn't recognize him and was startled, leading to the violent mauling. Or it could have been because the bear is a wild animal and suddenly got hungry. Who knows? The circus later stated that the bear would not be put down despite killing a human being and would continue to work with the circus moving forward. Number 9. Constrictor Control. In 2019, an audience attending a circus somewhere in Russia was dazzled by a snake tamer who held a boa constrictor in his arms and swiftly wrapped it around his neck, showing that he had true control over the reptile. But it soon became clear that the constrictor was the one in control, as the snake tamer was slowly suffocated, fell to his knees, and then slumped over. At first, the audience thought it was part of the show, but it was soon evident that the man was unable to breathe and held out his right arm to signal for help. His movement became weaker and weaker until he went motionless. Circus workers came to the help of the man and tried reviving him, but he remained limp and was feared to be dead. It's still unconfirmed where the incident took place, with reports stating that it happened in Dagestan, a republic in southern Russia, with another report saying it happened in the regional capital of Makhachkala. The local police, however, denied having received any reports of such an incident. It was later confirmed that the snake tamer had unfortunately died due to suffocation. Number 8. Bears on ice. Bears on ice is never a good idea. Animals are treated poorly at circuses around the world, but this one was just ridiculous. Russia has had a long tradition to train bears on how to perform various tricks, such as pushing wheelbarrows, walking on their hind feet, riding a bike, and apparently skating on ice. In the fall of 2009 at a circus in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, a 5-year-old bear was being trained to ice skate. During a rehearsal, the bear leapt at circus administrator Dmitry Potapov and another animal trainer who was trying to rescue Dmitry. Potapov was brutally mauled by the bear and was dragged across the ice by the neck and had nearly had his leg torn off. Unfortunately, he died at the scene before the medical crew could save him. The trainer, Yevgeny Popov, who was trying to rescue Dmitry, suffered deep lacerations in his scalp, bruising of his brain, and gashes across his entire body, and his condition was considered critical. To make matters even more upsetting, the bear was shot and killed at the scene. Number 7. Circus Clowning. In 2016, a clown was performing his act at Circus Zaire, doing flips and tricks and whatnot, when the next part of the act called for a volunteer from the audience. The clown selected 37-year-old Ben Garnham. The clown asked the man to grab his legs before appearing to attempt a backflip, but instead of landing the flip, the clown landed on top of him, leaving Garnham with a gash on his head and a swollen face. He was motionless on the floor before 3 circus staff members rushed over and carried an unconscious Garnham out of the ring. Garnham told the BBC, quote, "I was very lucky. I could have died or been paralyzed. I don't blame the clown. What I was upset about was the way I was carried off. I was manhandled when I could have been seriously injured," end quote. He said the circus offered to refund his family's tickets and offered them a free visit. But that wasn't the only incident that happened at this circus. A few years later, in July 2018, the traveling circus was in Perth, Scotland. In their show, they introduced a Wheel of Death act, which looks just as terrifying as it sounds. The daring acrobat had been spinning around on a large revolving structure during the headline act, which saw him jumping across various parts while it was moving below him. While coming down from a leap, the man lost his grip and plunged 20 feet or about 6 meters to the floor, slamming into the ground and injuring his leg. Ambulance crews raced to the scene and rushed the man to the hospital, where he received emergency surgery and was able to make a full recovery. Number 6. Death at Cirque du Soleil. Cirque du Soleil is one of the largest producers of circus shows around the world. Olivier Rochette was a Cirque du Soleil technician working on the sets at the Lucia show on Tuesday, November 29, 2016. At approximately 6:43 p.m., an hour before the evening show, Rochette was struck by a telescopic lift. He was immediately taken to the hospital, but he succumbed to his injuries and died the same evening. The show, as they say, went on, but this incident brought more scrutiny about the safety of the cast and crew to the company. This wasn't the first time that someone working for the company had had an accident. Back in 2009, Alexander Zhurov, a Cirque du Soleil performer, fell from a trampoline during training and died from his injuries. Then in 2013, performer Sarah Guillot-Guillard fell to the floor when the wire rope on which she was suspended broke mid-act. The poor woman fell nearly 100 feet or 30 meters to her death in front of a crowd at the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino. Earlier in November 2016, a former Olympic gymnast fell 16 feet or about 5 meters during a performance in Brisbane, fracturing her neck and breaking her arm, but according to news reports, she recovered. Whether it involves trained animals, acrobats, or stuntmen, there's no denying that these circus performers put their lives in mortal danger every time they perform for their audiences. And sometimes their acts go wrong, badly injuring them, or worse, killing them. How do you feel about the circus? Tell us in the comments below, and if you're not subscribed to the channel already, subscribe now. Let's continue. Number 5. Elephants Trample Trainer. On January 31st, 2005, Pierre Spenley, a trainer with the Tarzan Zerbini Circus, was leaving the trailer when the safety railing he was holding onto broke away. He fell in front of 3 Asian elephants. Each elephant weighed more than 7,000 pounds or just under 3,200 kilograms. And you can guess what happened next. The elephants got spooked and stomped on the 40-year-old trainer, crushing him instantly to death. A coroner, John Bradenberger, said that once a trainer falls on the ground, they're no longer a trainer to an animal, and instead become inanimate objects, like a basketball to be punctured. That's a very graphic image from John. The incident occurred when the circus was packing up from a performance in the annual circus at Fort Wayne Mizpah Shrine Temple. Fort Wayne News Sentinel stated that this was the second time in 10 years that a Tarzan Zerbini circus worker had an accident with an elephant. Investigators sought advice from animal behavior experts and determined that the elephants were not being aggressive. John mentioned that the elephants are naturally curious animals, and it's a habit to kick and stomp on something that they can't see to determine what it is. It was curiosity rather than aggression. Due to their larger size and weight, even when they're playful, elephants don't really know how weak humans are compared to them, so accidents can occur at any time. Number 4. Daredevil. On August 26, 2021, Circus Zaire was extremely excited to welcome an audience to attend its show in Frimley Lodge Park in Surrey. Audiences were relieved to be out of their houses to enjoy themselves since the COVID pandemic had everyone cooped up. The night started off brilliantly with juggling and trapeze acts, and then came the motorbikes. It's an act that involves multiple people on motorcycles going round and crisscrossing each other inside a giant ball. Kind of like hamsters on a wheel, but with people on bikes. The stuntmen were defying death and nailed their stunts with precision, except at the end. One of the performers who was not in the giant ball, but riding a motorcycle on the tightrope just above the ball, took off the ramp and failed to perform a backflip just as the show was about to close for the perfect night. The stuntmen fell from a height of 25 feet or just about 7.5 meters, shocking the audience, which included several children. An air ambulance and 3 regular ambulances were called to the scene within 5 minutes, and the stuntman was rushed to the hospital. Later, a Circus Zaire spokesman issued a statement saying that the stuntman had survived and couldn't wait to get back on his bike and continue his stunt work and tricks. That's Daredevil right there. Number 3. Siegfried and Roy. Siegfried and Roy were known for their charm and white tiger magic as they dazzled the audiences of Las Vegas from 1990 to 2003. Their career was short-lived because of an incident that occurred to one half of the duo on the 3rd of October 2003. 45 minutes into their show, Roy Horn brought out Manticore, a 7-year-old white tiger from Guadalajara, Mexico. During the routine, the 380-pound or 170-kilogram tiger saw someone in the audience that apparently he didn't like and broke his routine. There was no barrier protecting the audience from the tiger should it attack, so Roy ran and put himself between the front row and the tiger. Roy commanded the tiger to lie down, but it refused and grabbed Roy's right wrist with his paw. Roy dropped the chain around the tiger's neck, reached for it again, but couldn't get to it in time. He had a wireless microphone in his other hand and repeatedly commanded Manticore to release his wrist. The tiger let go, and Roy, who had been straining to pull away, fell back to the floor, and that's when it got worse. Manticore leapt at him again, grabbed him by the neck and dragged him 30 feet or about 9 meters off stage. Witnesses described the scene like watching a rag doll being pulled away effortlessly. One audience member who thought it was part of the act said that the tiger wasn't vicious at all, and that it simply grabbed Roy by the neck and walked off. But the damage was done. Stagehands nearby ran to the animal holding Roy between his jaws and sprayed him with fire extinguishers. That didn't work, so they hit the tiger on the head with the butt of the extinguisher, and the cat finally let go and ran off stage. The attack had damaged Roy's jugular vein and his spinal cord, permanently impairing his verbal and motor functions. Later, both Siegfried and Roy were adamant that the tiger had acted to protect Roy, seeing that the trainer had fallen to the ground and grabbed him by the neck like it would a cub. But animal behaviorists dispute that claim, saying that the tiger was probably dragging Roy off stage to deliver the killing bite, just as it would in the wild. After the attack, the show, which had 267 cast and crew members, was cancelled. So ended the amazing career of Roy Horn. Number 2, 10 lions. Here's another circus accident involving a big cat and its trainer. Hamada Kuta, a 32-year-old Egyptian-born lion tamer, was going about his usual routine in April 2019 when his act suddenly took a wrong turn. He was in a cage with 10 lions, and that already sounds sketchy. He called up one lion, but a second who was in the front attacked him. He immediately tried calming the lion down, but it didn't listen. So Kuta stepped back and his left foot got caught on something and he fell backward. The crowd screamed in fear. We already know what happens when you fall in front of an animal. You're no longer a trainer. The lion pounced on Kuta and bit into his shoulder. It attacked his leg, arm, and back too, leaving several scratches and gashes in his flesh. But the trainer got up and was able to fight the animal off. Thankfully, Kuta did not suffer any lasting injuries. Later, Kuta said that whenever an animal attacks, it's almost always the trainer's fault. He knew the risks involved and considered the lion his children. To this day, he maintains that there will be accidents, but they will never ever end in death. Number 1, Clubfoot and the Garden Wheelbarrow. In October of 2019, during a show in the city of Olonets, a circus bear viciously attacked his tamer in front of a terrified audience. During a seemingly normal act called the Clubfoot and the Garden Wheelbarrow, the bear, wearing a muzzle, pushed around a wheelbarrow before following the trainer across a rug, and then, suddenly, and quite violently, lunging at the trainer, knocking the man to the ground. A circus worker who was beside the bear and the trainer quickly rushed in and kicked the bear in the shoulder to push it away, and eventually they were able to subdue it. The tamer, on the other hand, walked away with minor scratches. Representatives of the circus discussed the incident and said that the bear possibly attacked due to the flashes going off from phones and cameras in the audience, which startled the animal. Both the bear and the tamer were let go from the circus, and the act was removed from the show. Thanks for watching. Which circus accident shocked you the most? Or have you witnessed a shocking incident in person? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe. See you next time on The Bad Badger.